we've got our next speaker coming up on screen. Hey, Jess, how are you doing today?
Hi, I am great. Thank you so much for having me. And I love going after Anna. We're good friends, if
I
anyone
was going to say, it
couldn't
seemed like
tell.
you guys, you ladies knew each other, and it seemed like the way that she was kind of bouncing off. And I can't remember, I think it might have been Anna who suggested you, if I'm not mistaken,
hmm
for this event.
Yeah, Anna and I have been good business besties, which has been awesome to have other people in this space with me on this journey.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to jump into this conversation. And when I invited you, we had a prep call and we kind of were chatting a little bit. And I said, what do you want to speak about? And you were talking about some of the work that you do with folks to help them to create career clarity. And I'm like, well, this is perfect. And I think that day, Jess, I had a conversation with someone earlier who was in this like in transition phase. They're no longer working. They're starting to think about what do I want to do next? And I was asking them, well, what do you want to do? Well, this is what I've done. And I kept
Mm.
saying, but what do you want to do? Is what you've done what you want? Because this is a point in time where you can kind of like think about where you want to go next. So before I turn the floor over to you, we jump into the conversation. Jess, why don't you take a minute or two, tell us a little bit about who you are and what your business is about, and then can you remind me too? Are you sharing slides or are you doing a just a talk today? I can't remember if
So
we
I have
talked.
one slide, and
Okay.
I'm hoping I can figure out the screen share, so I might
So
need your support on that,
yeah,
but
I'm not sure if it's part of your talk now. I realized after I did this with the previous people, they had their intros built into their presentation. So if you
oh,
want to bring it up, okay. So why don't tell us a little bit about your business first, and then I'll give you the instructions on the screen share.
okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you, first off, so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I love opportunities to share like this. And this is a really big part of the reason why I got into coaching. So thank you, Brenda. You're doing such good things by hosting this. And I know everyone really, really appreciates it. So I'm Jess. Like Brenda said, I am a career clarity coach and a job search expert. I help people who are unhappy with their jobs to find careers that they love by connecting with their inner power. So I've been doing this work for 2 years now. I left the corporate world 2 years ago, which is like kind of crazy to think about at this point. It's gone by so fast. So I'm having so much fun. So before I got into coaching, I actually worked at Salesforce. I'm sure many of you are probably familiar. It's a Fortune 500 tech company. I worked on their recruiting teams for 4 years. And I absolutely loved it. I had such a good time meeting with candidates and doing interviews and looking at resumes and all of that. But after a couple of years, kind of started to feel like I really wanted to help people on a deeper level. And so that is what really inspired me to get into coaching and what I'm doing now. So it's been a really great way for me to marry my recruiting experience with my desire to help people. So yeah, that's what I'm doing today.
Awesome. Well, let's jump right in here. So we're going to be talking today, rather, you're going to be talking today, I should say, about career clarity. And what I'm going to do, Jess, is I'm going to turn the floor over to you and turn the video over to you. I'll still be here, but I'm going to pull myself off on video, and then I'll come back in at about 11:50 to kind of help facilitate Q&A and the transfer over to the next speaker. So to share the screen in StreamYard, if you look below you, Jess, you'll see a menu bar.
Mhm.
One of the icons says share. So what happens is you'll have to click on that and then
Mhm.
grab what you want to share, and then I have to approve it before it goes up on screen. So I
Mhm.
get a little preview of it. Sometimes I say, oh, that's your email inbox, wrong page. And then we can navigate to the other page instead. But I'll give you just a moment to do that. While I'm waiting for that to come up on screen, let me see. I need to unhide this one. Doing a little bit of piloting, co-piloting. I've got the ticker running below, guys. And if anyone is interested, maybe you came on late and you're like, wow, this event's going all day, but I missed the first three speakers. If you go to mellermarketing.com/Lil April, it stands for LinkedIn Live April. So again, go to mellermarketing.com/Lil April. You can subscribe and I will send you an email including playback links for all of the speakers and as well as any slides that they've shared with you and their contact information if you'd like to follow up. All right, Jess, I think I'm seeing it up on screen. It says question. Is that the right one?
Yes. And this is perfect because
Awesome.
we're going to start with this and then I'm just going to talk from there.
All right, there you go. I'll turn the floor over to you and I'll come back in at about 11:50.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Brenda. So for everyone listening, and I think I saw there's like 190 of you on here right now, which is amazing. Thank you for coming. I want to start off by getting to know you and where you are at with career clarity. So this is my first question for you. How clear are you on what career path you want to pursue? So if you could put these numbers in the chat for which one applies to you, that would be awesome. So we've got Number 1, I am crystal clear on exactly what career I want. Put a number 2 in the chat if you have a few ideas of some careers that you might want to pursue, but you haven't really narrowed it down yet. And then put a number 3 in the chat if you're like, Jess, I have no idea what I want to do. Please help me. So I will wait while you guys put those in here. 1, 2, or 3. Where are you at?
And there's about a 30-second delay, just so you know, guys. So when you put your comments in to the time that we can start to see them here in StreamYard, and we can actually see in the side navigation, the numbers that are starting to pop up in here. So continue to add these in. I'm not going to show every one of them on screen, but just to show you a couple of these are starting to come in. Oh, and there's a comment got in the middle there too. But are you able to see these in the side navigation?
Yes, I can see them.
All the comments. Okay, perfect.
Yes, beautiful. Okay, so we've got Randall's a 1, Sherry's a 2, Betsy's a 2. Hi, Erica is a 2, between a 2 and a 3 for Carrie, 3 for Joanne. Okay, so we've got a good mix here. We've got some people who know exactly what they want. We've got some people who have some ideas, but not totally sure. 2 and 3, 2, 2. Looks like quite a few 2s. 1.5, I like that. Susan's a 1. Okay. Perfect. So thank you guys. Appreciate it. This is going to be helpful for everyone on the call today because I think clarity is really the first step and it matters a lot. So I'm going to get into talking about that. Let's see if okay, so you're back to seeing just me, right? Cool.
Yep, just you on screen. Yep.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you guys. So I'm going to start by sharing a little bit about my own journey in career clarity. So when I was earlier in my career, I thought that I wanted to be a buyer at a large retail corporation. And I was totally convinced that it was my dream job. It was going to be amazing. I was going to do so good. I was going to climb the corporate ladder and do all the things, right? And I got into my first position on that path. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is not for me. I was not good at it. I didn't like it. Comparing to other people on my team and other peers that I had, I could tell that they were just so much more passionate about the work that we were doing than I was. And that was really, to realize that I was on the wrong path was really embarrassing. I felt a lot of shame. I felt really confused. Like, how did this happen? How did I let this happen, right? I had worked so hard to get to this point. And then here I was being like, oh my God, this isn't actually what I want. What am I going to do now, right? Have any of you experienced that where you've like worked so hard to get something and then you're like, wow, I just climbed the wrong mountain. Who's experienced that? It's painful. So this was my first clarity journey. This was my first opportunity to really say, okay, I don't have what I want right now. I'm really committed to finding a job that I love, right? Something that I'm happy with, something that I enjoy coming to work every day and feel fulfilled by. And this is my opportunity to get really clear on what that looks like and to make a pivot. Aisha's saying, yes, I've experienced this. That's great. So this was my first clarity journey, right? And I didn't really know what I was doing at that time. I didn't have a coach to help me at that time. I had to kind of just figure it out on my own, right? And so thankfully, I was able to figure out a process that I now teach my clients to go from feeling lost, confused, stuck to actually identifying, hey, I want to move into recruiting. And here's why I want to do it. And so that kind of brings me to my first point around career clarity is what is career clarity? What am I talking about? As we bring up this topic. So for me, I think that career clarity is about knowing what position that you want and why you want it. And I think a lot of times people can say, oh yeah, Jess, I want to be an account executive. I say, great. Why do you want that? And then there's this pause, right? They're like, they might not totally know. And I think that comes from a lot of different places, which we'll get into that too. Eric also says, yes, he's experienced this. Thanks. So I wanted to first start with why career clarity is important. So the average person spends 90,000 hours over their lifetime working. That's a crazy amount of time. That's so much time. And to put that into like a perspective of today, if you're working 40 hours per week, you're spending 36% of your waking hours working. So over a third of your time is spent at your job. And a lot of people work more than 40 hours per week. So the more hours per week, right, the higher that percentage goes, more and more and more that you're doing this thing that if you're not happy with it, that's taking up a huge chunk of your life, right? This is your life. This is your one very special life. And so you get to choose how you're going to spend this life. You get to choose what types of jobs you want to be doing, right? And so this is why I think that clarity is so important, because as much as we want to possibly deny it, work is a big part of our lives, right? And if work is not going great, that can spill over into our personal life. That can suck all of our energy, right? That can absolutely just destroy other pieces of your life, right? That might otherwise be functioning great. So this is why I'm really passionate about, yeah, mind-blowing number, right, you guys? This is why I'm really passionate about clarity. And when it comes to career clarity, the other reason that it's important is that you have to know where you're going to be able to get there, right? You have to be able to say, here's where I want to get to create that strategic roadmap to landing in that position. And so I see that a lot sometimes where people don't really have a target, or the target's pretty vague, and then they're struggling to get there. And the reason that they struggle is because they don't know where they're going, right? And so, let's think about this. Why is career clarity so challenging? I think for one reason is because it's ambiguous. I think when you get into a job search, it's really easy to say, I'm going to apply to 10 roles today, right? And you can go check, check, check. I applied to 10 roles. I feel really accomplished. I feel really great about this. There's a tangible thing that you're doing, right? There's a tangible thing that you're accomplishing when you do that. But clarity is not tangible. It is not some hard thing that you can just grab, right? It is intangible. It is ambiguous. It shifts and changes, right? It makes it hard to pin down exactly what it is. And I think another reason why finding career clarity can be so challenging is because we have all been conditioned by our families, by our friends, by society, where we live, where we grew up, right? We have all received a lot of conditioning on what we're supposed to be doing. Oh, I should be a doctor. Oh, I should be an entrepreneur. Oh, I should be a salesperson. That's what my mom wants, right? That's what my dad thinks that I should do. This is what my friends are doing. I need to be doing what they're doing. And so all of that outside info that comes at us, we start should, I should do this, I should do that, right? And when all of that is happening, it's really hard to say, okay, but what do I want, right? It's hard to block out that noise and say, what do I really want here? So I think that makes career clarity really challenging. And then the other piece, kind of similar to the fact that it's ambiguous, is that there's not a magic potion for career clarity, right? If it was that easy, people wouldn't need me as a coach, honestly. People wouldn't be struggling with this if it was easy, right? There's not an easy solution. So I think there are um, a couple things that you need when it comes to finding career clarity. So, I have 3 C's for you today for what you need when it comes to finding career clarity. The first one that I think you need is commitment. So, I was just saying that it's not easy to find career clarity, right? It's challenging. And when there's a challenge, you need commitment to be able to see that through. So, gosh, in my own journey, I'm someone who is really fortunate to grow up with a dad who loved the work that he did. My dad does cabinetry and wood flooring, anything beautiful that you would want built in your home. My dad can create it for you. And he worked so much growing up that he loved it, right? He loved it. He never complained about it. So I was really fortunate to grow up with that perspective. So from that experience, I was really committed to doing work that I loved. When I landed in that analyst role and was like, wow, this isn't a fit, I was like, I'm really committed to finding something else. So I think that's the first piece that you need is commitment. Second piece that you need to find career clarity is curiosity. And this kind of goes back to what Brenda was saying at the beginning, is that I think I see this a lot with job seekers and people who need clarity, is that they don't allow themselves to dream because they are so stuck in like, here's what I've done. So they only see their past experience and say, I've only done A, so that means I can only do B, is how our minds work, right? And a lot of the times when I talk to people, I'll say, okay, so you've done A, you think you can only do B. Who gave you that information? Where did that come from? And a lot of times they're like, oh, I guess I just thought that. That was an assumption that I made, right? No one actually told them that that was the path. No one actually told them that that was what they had to do. We're just trying to make connections, right? There's nothing wrong with it. We're trying to make connections. But that type of thinking where it's like, I've only done this, now I can only do that, that cuts off curiosity, right? It's very difficult for you to dream when you're stuck in that black and white thinking. We need to get more expansive when it comes to clarity. So cultivating curiosity is super important. Getting curious about yourself, getting curious about other jobs, getting curious about other companies, getting curious about what other people are doing, right? What are other people's experiences like? So curiosity is a huge thing that we need when it comes to career clarity. And then the third piece that you need is courage. Like we've talked about, it's a challenging process, right? Sometimes it's a long process. It's not like you're going to just get clear overnight or in 2 days, right? For some of my clients, it takes them months to figure it out. For me, it took months. It took me 4 months to figure out, when I was in that point of like, wow, I hate this. I need a new plan. It took me 4 months to figure out, okay, here's what my new plan is going to be. And that is challenging, right? It takes a lot of courage, commitment during that time to say, I'm going to stick this out. I'm going to be brave enough to ask questions. I'm going to be brave enough to put myself out there and say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, right? That takes courage as a very first step to even admit that you need help or that you're not clear. It takes courage to reach out to people and see what other people are doing, right? And it takes courage to take a step in a new direction. It took a lot of courage for me to move from being an analyst over into the recruiting world. So those are the 3 C's that you need for finding career clarity. Connie is saying it's a lifetime ongoing process. Yes, that's the other thing about clarity, is that it shifts, right? And I'm a perfect example of that I had this analyst job, didn't like it, moved into recruiting, loved it. And even though I loved it, after a while, I grew, I changed, right? That's okay. And then I went on another clarity path. I went on another clarity route, which led me to career coaching, right? So it really is a lifetime ongoing process. So I would love if everyone could kind of unhook from that idea of finding the absolute perfect thing that's going to be your thing for the rest of forever, right? It's not helpful to be in that energy because there's too much pressure on it. So if you can flip your mindset and say, hey, I'm just looking for my next best thing, and then trusting that that next best thing will lead you to the next best thing and the next best thing. Like right now, I'm doing career coaching. Who knows? Maybe in 3 years, I'll have a new idea of some career that I want to have. And that is okay, right? It's okay for it to shift. So when you guys have career clarity, one thing that it does for you once you are clear on what you want is that it makes your job search a lot easier. A lot easier. And I see this often too, that sometimes people are like, well, I'm kind of interested in HR. I could maybe do sales, right? I could maybe do this other thing. And so when they are applying to jobs, they are applying here and there and on these different teams. And the problem with that is that nothing is specific enough. Nothing is tailored enough. And that's why they're not getting any traction. This happens so often. If you don't know what you want, it's really hard to get traction in your job search because nothing is specific enough. And so I'm talking about your job search activities, right? Like searching for roles that you're going to apply to. I'm talking about your documents, like your resume, right? Resumes need to be specific because especially now that that there's a lot of competition, right? After 2020, and there are a lot of job seekers in the market. There's a lot of competition. It's important for your documents to tell one cohesive story, right? It's hard to tell one cohesive story when you don't know what you're shooting for, when you don't know what you're aiming for, and when you're trying to be general. So it's really, really important from a document standpoint. It's also really important from a networking standpoint, right? That's the third one, is that when you have career clarity and you know what you're going after, you can now network with people all in that direction, right? So instead of having a scattered network here and there and here and there, you can say, I want to do onboarding at a tech company. And then you can go talk to all the people that do onboarding at tech companies, right? And hear about all of their experience and make all these amazing connections. And that's how you get referrals for jobs, right? So that you can skip that application process and come in on the back end. So when you have career clarity, all of these job search activities, your documents, networking, all of that becomes so much easier because you're moving in one direction. It all makes sense. It's all cohesive, right? Carrie says, oh my God, so true. Yes. Hi, Brenda.
Hi, I'm coming back in. I don't want to stop the flow at all. Great conversations going here. Jess, you just make me feel calm. Like even like you sipping the water, it just makes me feel like I want to sip more water. And you're just making me feel like I'm a very high energy person, but I'm like, oh, I just feel relaxed, like listening to you. And I feel like, I feel like we can get there and we all need to hear this. I feel like this past year has just been crazy, chaotic, mind blowing, a bit jarring. And it's a weird environment to be in if you're in career transition, not by choice. I mean, any time is weird to be there, but when you're in the middle of a pandemic in career transition, unemployed, looking for a job, it can create a little bit of that feeling of panic. Like, when am I going to find a job? Layered with, I hope I don't get COVID, layered with, is the economy going to, tank because of this? And where are all of us going to be? But I feel like it's good to take kind of that pause, that step back, and just take a deep breath, have a sip of water, right? and, and think through. And I loved, and so many people are saying you're giving up so many great gems. They're agreeing with me. They love the vibes, the calm demeanor, everything that's coming through. And I want to just invite you guys, if you have any questions for Jess, this is your time. So if you have any questions that you'd like to ask her about career clarity, about your own journey going through this process, this is the time to ask it. And I do see somebody put a comment on here about your Clubhouse. Can you tell us a little bit about, there might be people watching, Jess, who are like, Clubhouse, I've heard of it, and now I feel like it's this whole club I'm not a part of. Like, what is Clubhouse for those people that are watching? And then tell us a little bit about what that event is all about.
Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity to share about this. So for anyone who doesn't know, Clubhouse is a new social media app. It's audio only, which I think makes it really, really unique. So how I describe it is that it's kind of like being on a conference call with a bunch of really cool, amazing people that are sharing really awesome stuff. And it's really great for job seekers in particular because there are tons of career coaches on there. I'm sure there are a bunch of recruiters, right? There's all sorts of different topics that you can go in and listen to what people are saying. And it's like free coaching, honestly, is what's happening over on Clubhouse. So highly recommend everyone checks it out. The job search angels, what this comment is talking about. So this is actually a Clubhouse room that Anna, who just spoke, that Anna and I and Jessica Williams and some other lovely ladies host together every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern time. And we talk about all sorts of different topics. So last night we did navigating job loss and job layoff. We've talked about networking, how to work with recruiters, was a really popular one. So we do that every Wednesday at 3 p.m. over on Clubhouse.
Awesome. And I'm going to try to drop the link into the chat. I'm trying to multitask. I'm like, here, I'm there. I've got a side screen. I'm trying to navigate up on here. And we've got a little bit of a larger comment. Sorry to be covering part of your face for that. I like to call those the Wilson comments. So if you guys ever watched Home Improvement, remember when Tim was talking to his neighbor Wilson and he was like, over the fence, like, and you only saw like a little bit of his eye. So when we get the tall comments, StreamYard doesn't squish them down yet. So I'm not saying make your comments shorter. I'm just saying it's a limitation that we have within there. I did see one question that was popping up. Let me see if I can find it back here again. You have to get an invite for Clubhouse was one of the questions, right? So How do people get an invite?
Yeah. So Clubhouse, well, this is my current understanding, so don't quote me on this, but Clubhouse is newer. It's
Okay.
only been built for iPhones thus far. I believe they're working on expanding it. And it has been invite only. I heard because they don't want to break their platform with too many people
Oh.
signing in at once. And there are it's a little glitchy, sometimes the servers are like a little overloaded still. So it's new. They're working out the kinks, right? But we try to do as much as we can. We actually post a LinkedIn event for each week. And then we try to do as much as we can in the chat over in LinkedIn and sharing those insights there too, so that if anyone doesn't have an iPhone, they can still benefit from the conversation that's happening in Clubhouse.
That's awesome. And if you guys are looking to join Clubhouse, comment in chat and say, I need an invite, because there's probably somebody who's watching right now who has a couple of pending invites that they can give out. So feel free to do that. And I think it was Anna Morgan. Anna, your profile photo is not showing. How crazy is this? Because I'm looking in the LinkedIn live chat right now, and I'm looking, it's Anna who left this comment, but I'm not sure if that was intentional, Anna, or not, but we can't see your photo on here. Crazy
That's
thing.
what I was like, who said that? That's so nice.
I know, it's like, it
Hi,
was
Anna.
her though. So it could be, it's sometimes it's the profile photo setting, and sometimes there's another setting in LinkedIn. It's the third party application setting, something rather, because StreamYard's a third party. So technically you have to enable that. All right. I think we're going to have one final question. I'm waiting for our next presenter, Adriel, to come in, and I'll introduce him once he comes in. But here's another question from Connie. And this is, gosh, what if you're not really sure, but you've got a foggy idea generally of where you want to go? Do you go for it anyway, or should you wait till you have more clarity on that? What are your thoughts there, Jess?
Yeah, great question, Connie. So I think that it definitely depends on everyone's individual situation. Someone who maybe got laid off and doesn't have a job currently, they might have financial responsibilities that they need to take care of. And in that instance, sometimes you do need to get a job, right? You need to get a bridge job to get you to where you're wanting to go. In my experience, I was fortunate both times that I had a stable job while I was like, okay, let's go through this clarity process and see what I want to do next. If that's the case, I recommend waiting until you're clear on what you want before going for it, because it's just going to make the whole process so much easier for you. Like if you think about it, so the process that I walk people through with clarity involves a lot of networking. And so it's like people are gaining clarity and building a network at the same time. So by the time that they're clear, they already have all of these people in their corner, right, that can help them out. So I really think that getting clear is the first step. And I also wanted to add, because we haven't even gotten like to this part yet, so I just wanted to add one little exercise that you can do to start gaining clarity. So I call it, how am I feeling? What am I doing? How am I feeling? What am I doing? So this is something that I want you guys to try as you are working, or maybe if you're not working right now, you can think back to what your work days were like. But at the top of every hour, pause and ask yourself, how am I feeling? Am I feeling excited? Am I feeling engaged? Am I feeling bored? Am I feeling frustrated? Am I feeling like I need to get the heck out of here? So note down how you're feeling, and then note down what activity you're doing. Are you editing spreadsheets? Are you meeting with clients? Are you mentoring a teammate? Like, what are you doing that is producing that feeling, right? And this is how you can start to identify. For me, I identified, wow, I hate all the spreadsheets. I hate all the calculations and all the meetings about that. But what I'm loving is mentoring the intern on our team, right? I love networking with other leaders at the company. I loved going to, they would do like CEO talks and stuff, right? I loved all that personal development. So those were my little clues that I was like, oh, I need to do something focused on people, right? So that's how you can start picking up just those little breadcrumbs and putting them together and saying, okay, what career path is going to give me an opportunity to do this?
Love it. Great technique there. And I heard somebody's a similar type of a technique. I like this one though, because it's kind of like every hour on the hour, write down what you're doing. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Because it helps you to get there. What do you enjoy? Like, because you might say, yeah, I hate doing spreadsheets, but I love mentoring. I heard somebody else say, if you're in career transition, write down all of the things that you you liked about doing your job. Just thinking about it, just write down all the things that you liked about it. And then if you had to get another job, but you could take some things off of your list, put that list together as well. Ask them, you can even ask around to other people and say, what am I really good at? And I had somebody else suggest, ask around and say, say I'm a marketing director. Ask around to your friends and say, if I wasn't a marketing director, what's a job title you think I would do really well at? And your friends might say, wow, you would do really well in sales, or you'd be a great professional coach because you do well at public speaking. So they might give you suggestions on other areas.
Yeah.
So thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's great. I love that activity. Part of the beginning stages of work with my clients, I ask them, what are you best at? And that's a challenging question for a lot of people. Very, very challenging, right? It's challenging because it's hard to talk about ourselves, I think, for a lot of people is the block. Sometimes we just haven't thought about it, right? We just haven't taken the time to sit down and identify it. And so when people really, really struggle with that, I'll have them go out and ask, their family, their friends, like, what do you think I'm good at? And they'll get that feedback. And sometimes they're like, oh my gosh, like, what? I didn't know that they would say that. But yeah, I am good at that, right? I am really good at bringing people together. I am really good at getting people excited about something. I am really good at planning the itinerary. And that's the other thing that I would encourage people to do is think about, we get caught in like classic work, work, work type of examples, but think about, what did you love when you were in school? What did you love when you were growing up? What do you love to do in your free time? Because those are clues, right? There are clues, and there's a reason why you love it. So there's like the top level reason why you're doing it, but then you have to say, but why? Why do I like this? And then I find that those like lower level reasons of why tend to be present across like lots of areas. So it might be like, I love being creative. That's why I love, doing this thing at work, and I love doing this thing in my personal life, even though they seem totally unrelated. They're not. It's because you like being creative. That's what you're looking for.
Very good point. And I see Adriel has arrived. So let me just pull him up on screen real quick to say, hey, Adriel, how are you?
Hi, what's going on? Hey, Jess.
Hi. I was just about to put out a what do they call it? APB bulletins, like say, hey, I know he's here because he was like chatting with me.
I was in the wrong StreamYard. There's so many StreamYards these days,
Oh, sorry about that. Let me just wrap up with Jess, and then I'll bring you back up on screen, Adriel, okay? Great, thank you. All right, so Jess, I want to just, let me try to remove this from stream. It's multitasking here. I'm going to pull your LinkedIn URL up on screen, Jess. And are you open to accepting invitations from people that are watching the show here today, and any special instructions that they should know about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Would love to connect with people that are here with us today. If you want to just like write me a note and put live stream in there so that I know that you are here, that would be amazing. And I'm totally open to connect.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jess. And I have her profile up on screen. If you guys are visiting her profile to invite her to connect, reminder in your invitation, include a note, mention that you watched her on the LinkedIn Live-a-thon today. If there was a point that she made that really just hit home with you, message her about that and tell her about that. Make sure that note is personal. It's a great, effective way of building up more connections with folks in your network, Jess. And I just want to say thank you again so much for joining, Jess. I'll include your contact info for folks that sign up for today, and look forward to staying in contact with you in the future.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Brenda. I really appreciate the opportunity.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jess. Have a good one.